Hello, welcome back. We are four struggling filmmakers. My name's Emma. Joined with me is Noah.
How you doing?
Jimmy.
Hi.
And the Sponge King himself, James.
It's me, the Sponge King. Hi.
What?
I don't have the crown with me.
I will put in the picture here of what I mean.
Yeah, it's my crown. I'm the Sponge King this week, apparently.
Fair enough.
Welcome to another week. Do we have any recommendations?
This one might surprise Mr. Noah Harvey. I watched a foreign film this week. Ooh, really pushing the boat out.
You ain't selling it to me, man. It needs to be English language.
I watched Train to Busan.
Yes.
Yes, it's a very good Korean zombie film. It's all set on a train to Busan, funnily enough. And yes, it was very good. It hits a few familiar beats, obviously, in character archetypes, which are like, I've seen this before, but there's other bits of it that really surprised me. I'm not ashamed to say this film actually made me cry. I didn't expect that, but genuinely it did. And it was so good. Don Lee, oh my God, what a Don he is. I love him. It's
wonderful. I actually had a question for Jimmy, because I know that you've been to the cinema to see a few films this week. So I was wondering if you could give us your reviews on Mortal Kombat 3 and Judas and the Black Messiah, both things that we've already spoken about in previous episodes. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I can indeed do this. I will rank them on a sliding scale for you. Judas and the Black Messiah, as high as I can raise my arm. It is a powerful, shocking film. I learned things that I just had no idea about. I never knew how bad things were in America in the 60s. People being murdered in their sleep by the government. I never realized J. Edgar Hoover was a raging racist. I never knew much about the Black Panther struggle, but wow, does that film bring it home for you. Amazingly well shot, amazingly well acted, with an incredibly powerful script. Not one person in that film drops the ball in any regard. Absolutely fantastic. Go watch it immediately. I wish I'd seen that before we'd done the Oscar predictions.
Yeah, there you go.
But there you go, yes. Below that, about here, we have Mortal Kombat. For a video game adaptation, it does a pretty damn good job. If you like Mortal Kombat, you're going to see familiar characters, fun, pretty well choreographed action, story is a pile of shit, no character changes, Cole Young, even the name is so boring, doesn't go on any sort of journey. They add in some elements that aren't in the games, none of that stuff works. There's no tournament in it. You know, the base of Mortal Kombat isn't in it. And what I will say, the highlight of the film is Kano. Hilarious from the first scene he's in to the end. Well done to the actor whose name I can't remember. But they do a thing with his character that is very annoying in light of that, but that's fine. For a good time. It's nearly 2 hours. It felt like 20 minutes. Worth a watch. And then you have Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is meant to be a reimagining of Saw, pretty much. It's a completely by the numbers rehash of Saw, just with more of a police investigation angle. With Chris Rock as our protagonist, carrying an entire film on his shoulders, not with a great amount of success, particularly in the first half of the film. He's trying to be funny Chris Rock in a Saw film. Two don't really work well together. Traps aren't as ingenious as they have been on previous occasions. They're also very unfair to get out of compared to, like, sawing your leg off with a hacksaw, pretty nasty. Not as unfair as, like, I don't want to ruin anything, but you ain't getting out of any of these traps. Still, I think I was just being in the cinema and watching anything is good. It's nice to be back in that atmosphere. So,
I got a schedule here. Do you mind like moving on?
Yeah, I'm just wrapping it up. That's me wrapping it up.
Do you want to introduce it then, Noah? What are we talking about this week?
These guys have got to sell me their adaptation.
Basically, James, Jimmy, and I were able to think up of an adaptation. The premise of the thought was that we think about something that's not a movie but should be a movie. So it could have been anything. So we have a game, a play, and a comic book. We're going to pitch our ideas to Noah. Who are you supposed to be, Noah?
I'm a producer.
You're a producer. Okay, so we're going to pitch our movies to the producer. So being a little bit brave, considering we did a whole episode on game to film adaptations and why game to film doesn't work. I was struggling.
Certainly doesn't.
Okay, thanks, Noah. I was struggling to think of an idea. And originally after a Google, I was thinking of maybe doing like maybe doing Halo. But then I did some Googling and I found out that it was actually going to be a Peter Jackson film that got binned. So I was like, oh, actually, it's kind of already failed. So I don't really want to pick that up. So I was thinking, what have I enjoyed reading or playing lately? And I remember when I was doing my dissertation last summer that I just could not stop playing this game Subnautica. So I've chosen Subnautica because not only was I addicted to the game, I think the whole premise leads to so many interesting creative ideas that could be funneled into a film. So for those of you who don't know, Subnautica is a open world sort of adventure survival game. It follows the main character's spaceship called the Aurora crashing on planet 4546b, which is an alien planet, and basically the journey to find out what's going on this planet and also getting off the planet. And several things happen. You are infected with a bacteria called the Kara, I think it might be the Kara bacterium, and you've got to then like figure out how to cure yourself, and the whole planet has basically got this bacteria. But it's such an open world game, which makes it really interesting because it's not just open world on top, it's open world in the sea. So you crash in the middle of the sea and you start in this survival pod, and you've got to go out and craft things. So you've got to like swim around and like find bits and bobs, and then you get the odd radio transmission from survivors, and you have to like then go to that place, and you can build things like submarines, and then you can build like mini bases under the water, and as you go on you go deeper and deeper under the water, and then you find all sorts of different things and discover a lot about the planet. And I think it does follow this traditional A to B narrative. So it definitely could easily be made into a film because there's a really strong narrative throughout. But also in the game, you're able to go outside and do other bits around this narrative. So I think it'd be pretty cool to see the narrative just played out straight with someone sort of playing it. And I was thinking, who could play this main character? I was thinking maybe like, you know, an action star. I know we're not a massive fan of Tom Cruise, but sort of the Tom Cruisey style is what I'm thinking. I thought maybe Keanu Reeves would be quite good in an underwater action film, but it's a very solo. It'd be a very solo performance because it is literally just this one person with basically you find bits of the story through going to other survival pods that have been destroyed and listening to their last radio transmissions. So that could be an interesting way to do flashbacks and involve other people. And then it's like you're piecing this story together so that if the film was then played all in one, you could put these little flashbacks together to make a mini story of itself. That makes sense. And there's some really cool creatures in there as well. There's the classes of basically the main enemy is these like Leviathan creatures, and they're like massive, like sharks and things, and they'll eat you, and the animations are really cool. So I think that could definitely be like a cool thing for this main character to stumble across. Obviously in the film he wouldn't be able to die as much as I did, because when you die you get sent back to the survival pod, but that kind of defeat the point. But I think there could be some close encounters where we get to really use CGI to like create this character.
Fun fact, I'm not sure if it's the base game or one of its like add-ons, but it's on sale on Steam right now.
Yeah, so the game was so popular that I think it's a prequel. They decided to make a prequel game, and it's called Subnautica Below Zero. I don't know if it's a prequel or sequel, but it's because it doesn't use the main character, I don't think.
Who's the director?
I'd kind of be interested, maybe Peter Jackson.
Okay,
He's
he's done
done
recently.
He's
but
done
he
Lord
can-
of the Rings, which is kind of survivally a journey, and this
I
is
don't
what
think-
it kind of is.
Yeah. King
Don't
Kong.
think I have his number anymore. No one talks
Okay,
to him.
let me think. Who else?
Robert Zemeckis, who did
I'm thinking Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, actually, that's a really good point, because this is supposed
That's
to be
why
a
I'm
sort
in
of-
this job, you know.
This is supposed to be a sort of thriller film,
Mm.
thriller game, and there are points where it is a bit scary when it goes, and like the sound design is unbelievable. But like Del Toro obviously is known for these sort of weirdly horror-y things. I think this would actually maybe fit quite well in his filmography.
He would definitely take the creature design under his wing, wouldn't he? Like, as we've seen with The Shape of Water. And,
yeah, I think the creature design would be really interesting with him. Yeah.
And he would do it all
Okay.
practical.
It does sound how you're describing it. It's sort of like a halfway point between maybe like a film like Castaway, or maybe even Arctic, which you mentioned a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And Jaws, even.
Yeah, or The Shallows.
Yes, it is. It's basically Jaws meets Castaway.
Yeah, that's a good way to pitch
Sold.
it.
Yeah, I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
And this got a big fan base, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's why they brought out another game.
I have it on my PS4 downloaded because
So good.
it was free actually, because they're doing like a thing, play at home initiative for PlayStation, where they just release a bunch of games for free because of the pandemic and stuff. And one of them was Subnautica, and I haven't downloaded it, still haven't played it yet because I don't want another distraction.
I think it's a great genre. I've not played Subnautica, but I love the survival genre of games.
Well, the thing that sort of attracted me was I'm not really I'm a great gamer. I won't lie. I'm not great at it. So I love these open world games where even though if you're not doing like amazing in the main story, you can go off and do other bits and build bits, and you can go anywhere until you're ready to tackle the main bit again. So you can go off narrative for a bit. And that's sort of what dragged me in. I love those sort of games.
Well, I think that can be really strong as well for a video game adaptation. If you look at like the most successful video game adaptation, it's probably Angry Birds, which didn't really have a particularly like focused or strong narrative. And in a way that could be an advantage because you then don't have anything holding you down. It's something we've not really seen as well. Like we've had, hundreds and hundreds of survival movies over the years, but not really one set on an alien planet. So that's quite an original.
Yeah, I think Alien's been done though, man.
Yeah, but not like the only alien survival film.
That Matt Damon one, Moon?
The Martian.
The Martian.
The Martian, yeah.
But that didn't have creatures in it as well. I was going to say Robinson Crusoe on Mars from the 70s, but budget would be the only thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, especially when you're shooting on water as well. I feel like that's the only issue, because water films are notorious for being annoying.
Yeah, do you remember Thunderball? Oh my God.
But that's where Guillermo del Toro would be good for it though, because I think he does have a reputation for coming in under budget.
Yeah, I got him on speed dial, so.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah,
sweet.
All right.
That's
Emma.
my pick, Subnautica.
Emma, that was very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Sounds like an interesting game, and I'd like to see Guillermo del Toro tackle that. Don't you think, boys? All right, Jimmy, you got to follow it up, boy.
This is not my first time pitching to a producer. As some of you may know, I have pitched to the producer of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We're moving into the world of comic books now, because do you know what? We have not had enough superhero films yet. Am I right or am I right? We have had too many standard sort of mainstream superhero films, I think. And it's time for something a little bit different. So I want to take us to the world of The Punisher, but specifically Punisher Max. Now, for those who don't know, the Max imprint of the Marvel line is a series of comic books set in a world adjacent to and not part of the main Marvel universe. So in the Max universe, only heroes who don't have powers exist. I think it's pretty much just Punisher and Nick Fury and maybe Black Widow. And it's a much more graphic, realistic, hard R, or here in the UK, 18 rated stuff, which is what the Punisher is all about. This is where the Punisher has fallen down in just about every adaptation. The Punisher film with Thomas Jane, I thought Thomas Jane was a good Punisher. What they did with his character was stupid and wrong. And the TV series with Daredevil, the Punisher wasn't right in that either. And this is our chance to fix it. I'll explain a bit about the Punisher. So the Punisher is a Vietnam vet who loves war and violence, pretty much, who one day after he came back from Vietnam was going through the park with his family, having a nice picnic. And unfortunately, him and his young daughter and his young son and his wife witnessed a mob killing, a mob murder. And the mob people said, oh, this isn't very convenient. So they turned their guns on the family and they killed his family. There's a famous shot of the Punisher with his son's brains in his hand where he's been shot, and that's his wife and daughter. To say he's gone through a rough time would be an understatement. And this is something we've not seen an awful lot of in the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe. When it gets dark, it doesn't get that dark. Even DC, I don't think, goes to this level. And when it does, it's completely unrealistic. So it doesn't matter. And so after that, the Frank Castle decides that he's going to become a guy called the Punisher. And basically, if he finds a criminal, he kills them. Which is, again, where the TV series falls down. The concept of the Punisher letting criminals go away and walk away is inconceivable in the Punisher universe. I propose it would have to be set in the 70s or 80s, while Punisher being specifically a Vietnam vet has very different connotations to Punisher being any other kind of vet. Again, I think that's where modern adaptations haven't particularly worked. I couldn't quite decide which Punisher Max storyline to adapt, because obviously where it's a massive ongoing thing, there's a lot to choose from. It would definitely be one of Garth Ennis's run. Garth Ennis is the definitive Punisher author. He nails the grittiness of the character, the loss of faith in humanity, but also the quiet moments where the Punisher does get a glimpse back at being a real guy, like a human being again. But the storylines that really stick out are, there's one called The Slavers, which deals with modern day human trafficking in like Eastern European communities. That is a very, very dark storyline, but it's not afraid to show real issues. And I think that's where Punisher Max is really good. It does show you really dark, but things that are happening in the world from a sort of like almost a pulpy point of view. But it's dealing with subject matter that even like things like Deadpool, despite being hard R, would never go near. So that's a good storyline to adapt. And I can't remember. Oh, the other one that's really good is one called, I can't remember what it's called. But basically, the Punisher has killed thousands and thousands of mobsters over the years. And there's one storyline where all the wives of the mobsters he's killed band together to kill the Punisher, and they nearly do it. And that's a really interesting. It's like the film Widows, but more exciting in a way.
That sounds great. If I'm being honest, that is what's hooked me so far. It's
really cool, and he builds this relationship with one of the widows who she was basically forced to marry her husband. It goes a lot into these sort of sexist dynamics that there has historically been in the Italian American community, and particularly within the mob. And it's a really interesting and surprisingly nuanced portrayal. I think the way to do it, though, would be to show the origin story first, show his time in Vietnam, where it's implied he makes a deal with the devil to come home. He's the only survivor of a massive attack that destroys everything in the base. That's so sad, though, because he survives everything in Vietnam and then loses his family at home. Yeah, in terms of casting, there is one man who is perfect to play the Punisher, and it is Karl Urban.
Okay.
Having seen him in Dredd, who shares some of the tones of the Punisher, but is altogether a different character, much less vindictive, I would say. Hardened, like the Punisher, much less vindictive, but he has that grit to portray the character. He has a physicality for it, which is only a tiny aspect, to be fair. But he can do subtly tender, which is something you would need to be able to do.
He's too old. He's too old.
Well, no, in Punisher Max, Punisher's in his 50s.
Too old. You're not going to sell, man.
Perfect age.
I disagree, Noah. I think it would sell. He's the lead in The Boys, and that's popular.
True.
I know who your director is, man. I know who it is. S. Craig Zahler.
Having seen Dragged Across Concrete recently, I think S. Craig Zahler and Brawl in Cell Block 99. S. Craig Zahler was definitely a one-hit wonder with Bone Tomahawk. And I don't think he's ever going to match that. He cannot handle the narrative drive that a film like this would have to have. He can't. He can great like the pulpy atmosphere, yeah, but he doesn't have the character development and the narrative to go with it. And what can I say about the Punisher? Yeah, definitely hard 18.
So you would keep it as an 18?
It would absolutely have to be an 18. There's no world.
Do you not think that perhaps that would not make... I know this is all fictional, but you've got to think some realistics, like a lot of 18s don't exist because of marketing purposes.
No, I think that's a very fair point. Where I think this works is that its budget wouldn't be anywhere near what a major superhero film would be. Where it is based in some sort of reality, and it's on the streets, it's down to earth.
Yeah.
Particularly for the first film in the series, like like Deadpool did, where they gave it a much reduced budget compared to the big
Yeah,
X-Men.
but that was still a 15 though, not an 18 is quite.
It's true. But I don't think it's quite the Death Note that it used to be. Like, look at the Saw films. I just saw Spiral. That's an 18. It's topped the box office charts at the moment. I think you'd be doing a disservice to the character not to. There's a panel in the comic book where the Punisher begins an interrogation by wrapping a guy's guts around a tree. And he says, believe it or not, you might walk away from this. And this is my general view on violence in films, is that showing horrible gore isn't a bad thing if you do it in the right way. If you show to this is what Quentin Tarantino says as well. If you show someone being shot and there's no, like in a PG-13 film or 12, and there's no blood and they just fall over and it's really clean, people go, oh, that looks cool. If you show someone being shot and they don't die instantly and they're screaming and there's blood pouring everywhere and it's horrible, it's uncomfortable, you show the reality of it. And I think that's a lot of what Punisher is about.
I wanted to quickly bring up, as you brought up Daredevil, and any opportunity to talk about Daredevil is an opportunity I will take.
Yes.
Obviously, Punisher showed up in season 2 of that show, and then he spun off, got his own Netflix series, which I think did not really do him much justice.
Completely
But I think in season 2 of Daredevil, I think they did him quite well. Personally, I judge from your tone that you disagree. I'd like to know why, Jimmy.
I think
what you would do would be better.
I think that's a very valid point, James. I think they get the broad strokes pretty good in Daredevil and the Punisher TV series. I think John Bernthal was miscast.
No. Like, I disagree with that. Sorry.
No, he's not right for me. He's too. It's too much of a human for me. I know he's really rough around the edges as well, but it just doesn't quite do it for me. I think maybe it's because he's Southern as well. I know this is so finicky, but Frank Castle is a New York Italian American. His real name's Frank Castiglione. So that had a bit of it for me as well. But talking more about the presentation of the Punisher in that series, I think they go too far making him a human. Also updating it so he's was the Afghanistan or Iraq veteran, and that's one of the others.
Yeah, it's weird, one of those.
That I know they had to do it to make the timeline work. The Punisher doesn't work with that kind of war because war changed an awful lot between Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan. Like, the whole point of the war in Vietnam is that it was pointless and that it was so dirty.
If you think about it, all war is pointless.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. But
Whoa.
Vietnam is like pointless and then some, completely. And that had a big impact on forming the character of the Punisher, particularly when he came out in the 70s. My final word that I would say is that the Punisher film from 2004 or whatever gets a really bad rap, and for good reason. Like, the Punisher would not go through this clandestine plan to trick John Travolta into killing his own wife or whatever, as happens in the film. But Thomas Jane's portrayal of the Punisher is exactly what you want. He can do the hard and deadly serious. He's got this fantastic gravelly voice, which is beside the point. But he also does open up. Like, when Joan brings round cookies and stuff, we see a bit of the man that once was, the family man. Right, anyway, that's enough about the Punisher. Final thing I'll say, Garth Ennis, one of the greatest comic book writers of all time.
This week's topic, Adaptation Week, I was the one to come up with it just so I could talk about this. That was basically my entire thought process. If I could talk about what I wanted to talk about. The Pillowman is a play from around 2003, 2004, if I remember correctly, written by esteemed playwrights and also very popular film writer currently, Martin McDonagh. You know him from In Bruges. He did 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and 7 Psychopaths. If anyone saw that, that was okay.
Yeah.
It was a bit chaotic. 7 Psychopaths.
Yes, it's a bit nutty, and this film is also quite a bit nutty.
Perfect.
In Bruges as well, the funniest film ever.
Yes, very much so. So I came across this play in particular in GCSE drama back in the day. This is like almost 8 years ago now. It was my final assessment piece that I did. And I did like the first section of like Act 1 as a performance. And it's almost been a decade and it hasn't really left my mind since. It's had that much of an impact on me because I really want to see this in another medium or live at some point. I think they were supposed to do like a West End version of it before COVID hit, and now they're revamping that. So I might go see that. Who knows? So the story itself, it follows a children's writer, which is Katurian, who's been arrested by two detectives called Detective Ariel and Detective Topolsky, because his stories that he's written resemble a string of recent child murders. So it's a very dark film. It would be anyway. It's a very dark play at that. A majority of the film takes place in would take place in an interrogation room, with a lot of the writer's stories being told throughout the play. Some of them include, there's one called The Little Apple Men, which is about a girl who carves some apple people for her father, who doesn't really like her that much. And then he's like, I don't like these. And then he eats them, but apparently she put razor blades in them and it kills him.
Is this set in a fantasy world or a real world?
From what I remember, it is real world based, but it's set in like a militarized version of one of the cities in the United Kingdom.
Here.
Yeah, in terms of what kind of film the story could be like, it could be like Seven. I immediately went to Silence of the Lambs, almost with that interrogation angle. I think would work quite well. The original run of the play had some really good actors in it, which I think could just be the cast of the film. So, like for the main characters, we had David Tennant, we had Jim Broadbent, we had Nigel Lindsay, which was Barry the White Muslim from Four Lions. Noah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know him. Don't worry.
And then there was a Broadway run which had Billy Crudup, you had Jeff Goldblum, Michael Stuhlbarg was in it. Like, this is what I like about Martin McDonagh. A lot of the plays that he has done could be made into films, and I just think this one's the best for it. There's Hangman, and I think there's another one called The Crypt Pool of Inishmaan, which is about like this island where there's a film shoot going on. It's very similar to like elements of In Bruges almost, where there's a film shoot going on and then there's some weird stuff happening elsewhere.
Your background, does that have any bearing as to the character?
Okay, all right. So the name of the play is called The Pillowman, and I was either a choice between an interrogation room as my background or a pillow man.
I know the director. Don't worry. No, I know the director.
Okay. He knows the director.
Yorgos, the Greek guy.
Yorgos
Greek guy.
Lanthimos. I was just going to say Martin McDonagh.
Yeah, why would it be Martin McDonagh?
He's the one who wrote the play, and he's the one that knows the source material the most.
And
I think he can do that brand of darkness quite
He's not
well.
a good director. He's a good scriptwriter. He ain't a good director.
Yes, he's a good director. What are you on about? He directed In Bruges. And he directed Three Billboards.
Yeah, no, you're overruled on this one.
I feel like this story is pretty universal. Because you could do it as sort of like a Hollywoodized, detective-y type.
What about
deal.
Kenya?
You could do it in Kenya. It's literally. I was thinking it could be quite a good Danish film as well.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen in it would be great.
I think you could totally
Nicholas
have
Winding Refn.
Maybe not for this kind
acting or directing.
Both.
You could totally have cast members speaking whatever nationality they are, like in their native accent, and with this sort of thing where it borders between the real and fantastical, you could probably get away with it. Very much like Death of Stalin, for example. And the other thing I was going to say was that I think it's funny because with a comic book and a play, you have the opposite problems. Comic books are very visual but short on narrative and character. Plays are very high on character and narrative, but it's the visual element that I think would be... Martin McDonagh can do it, I'm sure. But converting that to... If you could co-write it with Martin McDonagh, that'd be a great experience.
Yeah, there's a lot in the play. It's like 3 acts long, and there's a lot of it, which even I think it could probably be cut down quite a fair bit.
Yeah. And with a play, it's always a struggle. Like, you've got so much more space to use in a film, don't you?
One final point about it. I feel like the ending to the play, I only remember briefly about it because this is ages ago that I read it properly. But I remember it being it's not very a positive ending. The way that it ends is kind of the system wins, but not in the way that you expect the system to win. And it's from the entire tone of the play ends in a very dark way.
I want a happy ending.
Well, I don't feel like a happy ending would work in this kind of story.
No, it's
a very tortured character, is Katurian, which I played him.
There's seedy streets you can go to pay for that sort of thing too.
Fair enough. So on that note, that means we hand over to Noah to tell us what he thinks about each proposed idea.
Right. So, listen to everyone talk.
Thank you, Brando.
I've heard everyone talk, and you all put up very convincing cases.
Thank you.
I think there's a fan base for Emma Subnautica. I like the emotional depth of Jimmy's Punisher. And I like the artistic vision with the Pillowman. And I have to go with my heart. And my heart says, I'm going to have to think again.
Bye-bye, instead of me,
Yeah,
no.
it's hard. No, you're all done well.
Cheers, man.
I will go for Jimmy and the Punisher.
Hey!
Jimmy wins with another Punisher adaptation, ladies and gentlemen.
No, hear me out. I know,
Yeah,
but you know, it can do well. It has more to it than just your classic Captain America, and you know.
You're dead right. It's what the comic book genre is missing.
All right, thank you for having me.
Okay. Maybe he's actually going to log off and come back.
He's going to put a wig on and be like, what? What's going on?
As you can see, Noah is back with us. Don't know where he's been all episode. And Jimmy is about to put his quizzing glasses on, which can only mean one thing. What is that, James?
I don't know. What does it mean?
It's quiz time.
Oh, of course. Yeah, quiz. Yeah.
Time to win again.
Right. So, welcome again. I'm the quiz host this week.
Woo!
It is time for the adaptation evaluation. Adapted from the quiz by me. So there's only going to be one round. It's going to be 10 questions. There you go, 10. And the goal is to guess the odd one out of all of the films listed. However, it won't be so cut and dry. There are also bonus points available. So if you think you can, got a bit of film trivia or knowledge up your sleeve and to pull out, then now would be the time to do so. Or if you're just good at noticing patterns. Let's try again.
Nothing
Here we go.
happened.
Question number 1. So which of these films doesn't fit? So we've got Alfred Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder, Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, or Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on the Train. Which one is the old one out? So we're going to do the old 1, 2, 3 numbering system. So in order, it would be 1 for Dial M for Murder, 2 for Rope, and 3 for Strangers on the Train.
I'll go with the majority.
All right. So we're going with number 2, number 2, number 2. Everyone's saying Rope, and everyone's wrong. It was Strangers on the Train.
Oh,
But
shit.
can anyone tell me why it was Strangers on the Train?
Is it because the other two are in colour?
Okay, so there's one guess.
Can I say why I thought it was Rope first, and then I'll tell you why I thought it was.
Yeah, you can if you want.
I thought it was Rope because Dial M for Murder and Strangers on Train are about a husband murdering his wife one way or another, whereas Rope is about two students seeing if they can get away with murder. So that's why I thought that. But I'm going to go for Strangers on a Train is his only British made of those three.
Okay, and Noah, do you have a guess?
I thought Strangers of the Train wasn't British, Jimmy. I thought that was too late. It was like
There's
1950s.
There's a British cut and an American cut for sure.
Oh.
So I can.
Strangers on the Train was American. Oh no, wait, that's
Was set on a train.
No, it's fine. If he wants to guess that, that's fine. So I can.
Strangers on the Train takes place in more than one place because Rope's in one flat and Dial M for Murder's in one flat.
I don't think the whole film's in one.
You can reveal the answer.
What I will say is that guess there was probably the closest.
Interesting.
But take into account all of them will be adaptation themes. So Dial M for Murder and Rope were plays.
Oh bloody hell!
Strangers on Train was a book.
Okay.
None of us get a point for that.
None of you get a point. All right.
Come on.
Dial M for
Question
Murder
number
doesn't.
2. The Departed, Fargo, and Snatch. Which one is the odd one out?
I think you should go to whoever voted first with their reasoning first as well.
And number 1. So Noah.
No, 3. Sorry.
Number 3. All right. So Noah and Jimmy going for Snatch, and Emma going for The Departed. So I can reveal. Noah, you should have stuck with your original.
No, I meant 1. No,
Flip it out, Tucker!
No, I know why. Oh.
All right, you can say why if you want the extra point. That's fine, but you just don't get the initial one. Can you tell me, Noah, why is it The Departed that doesn't
Is it
fit?
because The Departed is a remake and Fargo and Snatch are original screenplays by whoever wrote them?
That is one reason.
Can I tell you why I thought it was 3?
Go on.
Because the first 2 are supposedly based on true stories. Certainly, The Departed is, and so is Fargo,
Is it?
whereas Snatch is completely original IP.
Emma, do you want to have a guess?
I was looking at the actors list, and that's what made me choose 1, but I don't know why.
Well, some really good guesses. It's not why I chose them. I feel like the bonus point thing is going to be really difficult, but you can give it a go.
The whole thing is difficult, mate.
Right. Fargo and Snatch were crime films which were adapted into TV shows, and The Departed wasn't.
Okay.
Don't hate the game, Noah. Come on.
All right. So here we have Little Shop of Horrors, the producers, but this is the 2000s version of the producers, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Which one is the odd one out? I can reveal that Noah and Jimmy are correct. Well done. But once again, can anyone tell me why?
Yes, I certainly can. It is. I'm jumping right in there. I need this bonus point. Little Shop of Horrors and the producers are remakes. Certainly those 2 are. Whereas Rocky Horror Picture Show is a completely original film.
Okay, and either of you two have any other?
I was going to say that the Rocky Horror Picture Show has like a massive secret cinema adaptation following to it, whereas the other 2 don't really.
Okay, that's a good guess. And
Yeah.
Noah?
Has Rocky Horror Picture Show become a stage play afterwards, and these 2 haven't?
No, I think they're all stage plays.
Okay.
I can reveal. I think Jimmy was the closest, so I think I can give him a bonus point for it.
Yes!
So, Little Shop of Horrors and the producers, the 2000s version, were films based on the musicals of the original films.
Oh, I didn't.
So, Little Shop
Yeah.
of Horrors and producers were films which were turned into musicals, and in these films,
Fair.
are versions of those musicals. And
And-
Rocky Horror Picture Show wasn't. It was
And
a
Rocky-
film first, and then it was turned into one.
And Rocky Horror Picture Show is the only one with a quasi sequel.
In this very difficult quiz, I'm sorry I made this really hard.
I'm a head and shoulders.
Okay.
Nobody listens to me.
So this is question number 4. Question number 4, it says up top. Yeah. Question number 4. So we have Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa, Monty Python's Meaning of Life, and In the Loop. Which one's the odd one out, guys? You tell me. Good thing I only did 10 questions, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Number two. Everyone's going for Monty Python's Meaning of Life, and congrats, you all got a point for it.
Nice.
Right, but can anyone tell me why?
Go on, Emma.
The odd one out.
I was just thinking about how James would structure a quiz, and he hasn't done number 2 yet.
In that case, Meaning of Life is the odd one out because it's not adapted from a television series.
I think I should still get the point because I'm right.
You'll get 1 point.
Should get 2 really.
Noah,
Yeah, same as Jimmy, really.
same as Jimmy.
He does not get a point for that, does
I
he?
mean, you know what? If you're
I'm
really,
also going for the same as Jimmy.
Yeah, why not?
what I'll do, I'm
James.
going to give Jimmy 1 point, and I'm going to give Emma and Noah half a point. All right, so I can reveal the reason was it is basically they're both based on television shows, but more specifically, they're both on characters by Armando Iannucci. I thought you'd get it, Noah. I thought you'd be brave.
Oh, specifically in
God,
Yeah.
James, you are specific with these, yes.
Yeah, and Monty Python
right.
Meaning of Life is not.
Oh, do I get a bonus point for saying that Alan Partridge originated in the day-to-day?
No.
No, you don't
say
get
that.
bonus points for anything. You only get bonus points
Give
for
yourself bonus points.
categorizations, all right?
Do I get a bonus point?
Shut up.
Alright, Sonic, Super Mario Bros. And Detective Pikachu. Which one's the odd one out?
There's so many reasons it could be.
Oh, everyone's chosen something different. So we've got 1 from Emma, 2 from Noah, and 3 from Jimmy.
This is
So
such...
one of you's got to be right. And
Can I just say, this is actually an amazingly good quiz. I'm loving this.
I can reveal Emma's right was Sonic the Hedgehog, but
Yeah, why, Emma?
why, guys? Why is it Sonic the Hedgehog? Can anyone tell me? Emma,
think
you get
it's
first vote.
Something to do with the game, and is it to do with the originality of what platform the game came out on?
Okay, so that's one guess from Emma. Jimbo, Noah, do you have a?
Well, I was going to say Detective Pikachu is the only one of those three which its title is not taken directly from the game.
But
That's not the correct answer.
There is a Pokemon Detective Pikachu game.
Yeah, you would be wrong in that case, Jimmy. Detective
Is there?
Pikachu is a game.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well, fuck me. Sonic the Hedgehog's the only one that they adapted the thing to be more faithful to the film. Whatever.
And Noah, do you have a guess?
Sonic the Hedgehog is the most commercially successful of the adapted games.
Well, he is technically correct, but Emma gets the bonus point because Super Mario and Pokemon were adapted from Nintendo games, and Sonic the Hedgehog wasn't. So with the platform, she is basically right. So I'll give her the point for that.
Okay, no, fair.
Number 6. All right, so we've got Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Hobbit and the Battle of the Five Armies, and Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Which one is the odd one out?
I think we're on the
Surely,
same.
right?
Number two. Well done, guys. Yes, you are all correct.
So can I go first?
Yes.
So I think Mockingjay Part 2 and Harry Potter and the Hallows Part 2, the final book was split into 2 parts, whereas this one, the book was split into 3 parts.
Okay, Jimmy, what would you say?
Emma, she deserves a point for that. It's far better than my reasoning. Those 2 are part 2s, whereas this one is a part 3.
Okay, and Noah?
Right, I'll go for something different. I don't believe there was a book called The Five Armies, but there isn't. But there are books called The Deathly Hallows and The Mockingjay.
We've all basically said the same thing in 3 different ways, but
right. What I will say, everyone gets a bonus point.
Yay!
But not that I'm giving her an extra one. Emma gets basically the right answer, which is it was one book split into 2.
Look, I basically said that word for word.
You're right.
James, just let Emma have a point for that and take away mine and Noah's because Emma.
Nah, you can keep mine, mate. Honestly.
I'll let all of you have a point. I'm fair.
Well, give me and Noah half a point then, because Emma was spot on and me and Noah blagged that.
Continue to question number 7 now. We've got Jaws 2, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and Doctor Sleep. Which one's the odd one out, guys? Okay.
Yeah, I voted long before.
Number one, and number 3. I can reveal Noah and Jimmy are correct. It was.
I want to say mine.
But I know why it is too, and I voted.
Say mine before Jimmy.
I voted long before you did, Noah. I voted
James,
long before
you're
you
gonna have
did.
to pick someone.
Not to be mean to you, Jimmy. I'll give Noah a sporting advantage.
Fair enough.
So, I think Jaws 2 is a sequel of its own separate story, whereas the sequel to Jurassic Park 2 follows on, and Doctor Sleep follows on from the original.
Okay.
If you get what I mean.
Yeah, Jimmy.
On a similar theme, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and Doctor Sleep are both book sequels that were then adapted into films, whereas Jaws 2 was not a book sequel. It was an original adaptation of the original Jaws film.
Yeah, I was going to say that both Jurassic World and Doctor Sleep are physical books that took a longer time to make a sequel compared to Jaws 2.
Yeah.
I don't believe is a book.
It's probably had a novelization written based on the
But it was
film.
made, from the success of
You
the
blagged
first.
that really well, Emma.
No, I genuinely.
I
will
did
show you on the recording.
see Emma feel really defeated when Jimmy said his answer, but I can reveal I do feel like everyone deserves a point, so you're all technically.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
They were book sequels first, then they were adapted.
Isn't it?
Adapted.
Yeah,
into movie
but
sequels.
they've just copied what I've said technically, so you're giving me
No.
a point for copying me.
Me and Emma deliberately.
Jimmy was way more specific than
Yeah,
you.
I was going to say.
Here we go. Question 8.
This is
Got
getting
Scooby
bloody.
the
This is.
movie, The Flintstones, and Alvin and the Chipmunks. Which one's the other one out?
Oh, it must
I-
be.
I-
I think, yeah.
I
Isn't it?
don't think it's that obvious, but okay.
Wait.
Are you sticking with 3, Noah?
Yeah, I think
All right.
so.
You're right to. Yes, it was.
So can I say?
Yeah, go
Yes.
I
Emma.
think it is obvious because I think Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones are both cartoons, which the film has been adapted from the cartoon, whereas Alvin and the Chipmunks is not a cartoon.
Okay, Jimmy.
Well, I think Alvin and the Chipmunks was a cartoon originally, but I think Scooby-Doo and the Flintstones are both Hanna-Barbera properties, whereas Alvin and the Chipmunks is a different company.
Okay, and Noah, do you have one?
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, I think it was similar to them as just the cartoons adapted into live action, but the Chipmunks were cartoons that were animated into.
I could be completely wrong, but I thought Alvin and the Chipmunks was something before.
I mean, it was animated as opposed to the other two were live action.
Live action, yeah.
Yeah, but they're all live action with animation.
No, but I mean specifically the characters.
Okay.
No, because the main character in Alvin and the Chipmunks, the man, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my name is Earl. It's Earl.
You know what I mean?
Anyway,
Right. I can reveal Jimmy is dead on the money.
Hanna-Barbera, isn't
They are
it?
both Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Well
Alvin and
done,
Chipmunks
Jimmy.
was a cartoon first. Would you believe it? And also
When
a
you said
very
it was-
popular actual band, which is weird.
When you said it was obvious, Emma, I was like, is it?
Judging from how the quiz has been so far, I've been like, I probably should have made all
I drew a link between this and the Super Mario Brothers one.
All right.
Right. Okay.
Here we go. Continuing onwards. So we've got 300, Sin City, and V for Vendetta. Which
Oh,
one
you
won out?
bastard.
God.
Number two, always we've got a full choice gambit here. So we got number one with Emma with 300, number two with Noah with Sin City, and number three, V for Vendetta with Jimmy, which is the right answer.
No.
But can you tell me why, guys? Can you tell me why?
No, I don't have an answer for this.
Don't have an answer. That's
Noah,
fine.
do you have an answer to this?
Noah, do you want to go?
It's not. It's a non. Oh, it was a comic book, wasn't it? They're all comic books. Just
They
something
are all
like-
comic
Our
books.
comic books, I'll give you that.
But what makes this one stand out?
I'm going to go for a stab in the dark and say
Go
that
on.
the from the comics, either the narrative or the character was changed from the original source material.
Okay.
Wait, isn't it? Didn't Frank Miller didn't he do 300 as well? So these two are done by Frank Miller. V for Vendetta isn't.
All right.
Yeah, 100%. Frank Miller did indeed write 300, and he did indeed write Sin City.
And it is indeed the right answer.
Yeah.
Bloody hell!
I'll give you both a bonus point.
Yeah, but
All
I'm
right.
the one who knew it.
Well,
Okay,
clearly
so
I knew it.
Last question. Which doesn't fit? We got Whiplash, Black Swan, or Lights Out. Which one don't fit?
These are all very different.
Oh, no,
ones.
sorry.
Number three for Emma.
Yeah.
Two. So Noah and Jimmy with two, and Emma with number three. I can reveal that the answer was number two.
Oh,
Right, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark. Straight
Go on.
Bat. Is it as simple as they're both debuts and Black Swan isn't?
Okay. Jimmy.
I think that Whiplash and Lights Out are based on short films, whereas Black Swan is not.
I was going to say.
You'd be correct, Jimbo. Well done. And thus ends the quiz. And
But I very nearly went for 3 because I thought it was directorial debut.
I didn't realise Whiplash was a short film as well.
it was, yeah.
I wasn't confident either, I must admit, and
Yeah.
I think
So,
it's Jimmy or Emma.
to wrap up this increasingly difficult quiz, I do apologise for how difficult it's been.
that was bloody good, my
Stuff it
friend.
ended up being in
Good
the
luck editing, Emma.
Thoroughly enjoyed that.
but the scores go as follows. In last place, she was ahead for quite a while, but ended up 8.5 for Emma.
That breaks our winning streak, doesn't it?
And then it's Mr. Noah Harvey with 9.5.
Pretty
And
respectable.
the winner is Jimmy with 14.
Any winners' thoughts?
It ain't easy being this good.
Was that what you waited for to say?
No, I really had nothing.
Velma and Louise, Jimmy, what about
I couldn't have done it without you three.
We are having a week's break to celebrate 20 episodes. We're giving ourselves a week off. So it's really important that you guys subscribe, like,
subscribe
and
to
ring
the
the
channel.
bell, so you know that when we're back. But on that, we're going to continue to struggle. You will continue to stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Don't struggle too much with that, as.
Bye.
Thanks, Noah. It's
Such a weird bit.
it's